What you're about to see are the events that led to 4 fatalities on the Bass River Fire on July 22, 1977. The Bass River Fire occurred in the Bass River State Forest, located in New Jersey's Coastal Plain Pinelands Reserve. The area burned by the Bass River Fire is in the same vicinity where 5 firefighters were killed while fighting a forest fire in 1936. The coastal plain is flat to gently rolling, and the pine barrens fuel type dominate the area. Pitch pine is the primary species found in this fuel type. Fires spread quickly in these fuels, and crown fires are common, as is long-range spotting. Fire behavior exhibited by the pine barrens fuel type closely resembles that of chaparral fuels in California. New Jersey had been in drought conditions for the first 6 months of 1977 and had been experiencing a prolonged heat wave since July 13th. The afternoon fire weather readings on the day of the fire, as reported by the Bass River Fire Tower, were sky clear, temperature 91 degrees, wind 12 miles per hour from the northwest, with gusts to 20 miles an hour. Relative humidity 27%, 1-hour fuel moisture 3%, and the fire danger rating for the day was extreme. At 14:59 hours, the Bass River Fire Tower reported a smoke approximately 3.5 miles to the north in the vicinity of Allen and Oswego roads. This was known to be a bad fire area because of current fuel conditions and past fire history. The smoke was also picked up by several other fire towers. 5 brush trucks with 10 firefighters were dispatched immediately. The fire was approximately 5 acres in size when the initial attack units arrived on the scene at 15:05. At 15:16, they reported the fire at 25 acres and crowning. The local division fire warden arrived over the fire in an observation helicopter at 15:37 and estimated the fire to be in excess of 100 acres. The first 2 brush trucks on the scene started a direct attack using pump-and-roll tactics on the flanks of the fire, working from the point of origin toward the head of the fire. The incident commander was in the brush truck working the left flank. 2 more brush trucks and a tractor plow unit arrived and joined the operation shortly thereafter. These additional resources concentrated their effort on the right flank of the fire. At 15:36, Eagleswood Volunteer Fire Company No. 1 was requested to respond to the fire. They arrived on the scene at 15:45 in Engine 731, an Army surplus 5.5-ton truck. The incident commander gave Engine 731 the following orders: hit the line and turn to your right, that would be south, and try to catch her. We might have to move out to the other side. There's a tractor and plow there on the line. Meet him and follow him down. When you get to him, let us know. All communications between the incident commander and Engine 731 were by radio. Engine 731 did not acknowledge the last transmission from the incident commander. Engine 731 was staffed with a crew of 4, and the company officer that day was the chief of the department. Engine 731 was operating on its normal county radio frequency. The incident commander was operating on the state frequency. He had to switch over to the county frequency to talk to Engine 731 or any other volunteer fire department units. Initial attack efforts were suspended at 15:47 due to very active fire behavior, and the incident commander ordered all units to pull out and move to Cole Road. Engine 731 never acknowledged the order to pull out. In response to the rapid fire growth, the incident commander requested additional resources from the volunteer fire departments of the nearby communities of Tuckerton, Stafford, and from Burlington, Ocean, and Atlantic counties. The first 3 brush trucks that arrived at Cole Road began backfiring. This operation was unsuccessful. At 16:12, the incident commander ordered all units to proceed to the Dan's Bridge Road. As units began arriving at Dansbridge Road, the division fire warden in the observation helicopter directed them to initiate a backfiring operation along that road, moving from north to south. Ground forces reported numerous spot fires across the Dansbridge Road at 1630, and that they could no longer hold the backfire. At this time, the observation helicopter estimated the fire to be 500 acres. Between 1630 and 1700, a number of significant wind shifts were reported. At 1630, the wind shifted from northwest to southwest. At 1640, battling winds were reported. At 1650, the winds were out of the northeast. The fire crossed Dansbridge Road and headed southeast into the Lake Absegami recreation area, which had been evacuated earlier as a precaution. During this time, the fire displayed rapid lateral spread along the flanks due to horizontal roll vortex activity as it transitioned from wind-driven to plume-dominated. The fire moved 2.5 miles in 2 hours. The forward spread of the fire was halted at approximately 1730 northwest of Lake Absegami. This was accomplished with a backfire, during which firefighters were forced into the lake because of the fire's intensity. The fire was contained at 2,300 acres the next morning at 0830. During the hectic transition from direct attack to indirect attack, the status of Engine 731 was unknown, and no other resources had reported any contact with them. At 1652, there was a possible radio transmission from Engine 731, but a tone-out by the Ocean County Control Center overrode it. At 1655, there was an attempt to contact Engine 731, with no detectable response. At 1659, there was another possible radio transmission from Engine 731. All that was heard were the sounds of static and the humming from an open microphone. At 1700, a third possible radio transmission was received from Engine 731, but it was mostly overridden by other transmissions. Someone was heard saying, "I don't know how to drive it. I've never driven it before." At 1701, the sounds of static and the humming from an open microphone were heard again. At 1702, over the sounds of static and humming, the following words, spoken by a faint voice, were heard. "This is 730. The microphone remained open, and the transmission tailed off with a word that sounded like "help." After that, the transmission cut off, and all static and humming ceased. The observation helicopter spotted the charred remains of Engine 731 shortly after 1800. Engine 731 was found near the original right flank of the fire, where they were initially directed to begin their flanking attack. However, they were not on the fire line or a road. The signature pattern left by horizontal roll vortex activity covered the area of the burnover. This would indicate that Engine 731 was caught by the vortex along the flank they were working. An examination of the engine showed that the radio aerial was hanging on the left side of the truck cab. The ceramic fitting attaching the aerial to the truck was broken. Hose fittings were found on the ground on the right side of the truck. The pump handle was full open. It's possible that some of the crew members pulled hose and connected it to the pump in an attempt to create a water curtain for protection. The bodies of the company officer and one crew member were found 600 feet from the engine in a direction back into the fire toward the point of origin. The bodies of the other 2 crew members were found near the engine. Today, memorials commemorating the 9 lives lost during the suppression efforts on the Bass River fires of 1936 and 1977 rest side by side in the Bass River State Forest. You have just seen the events that occurred on the 1977 Bass River fire. The instructor will now facilitate a discussion about the use of fire safety guidelines by the involved personnel, the strategic and technical decisions that were made, and the human factors that contributed to this burnover incident.